Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the Chamber of Commerce and its Government Affairs Committee, I'm Richard Bishop, and I have the pleasure again of making the introductions for the Mayor's State of the City address here this afternoon at the Chamber of Commerce of Scranton. It's an exciting time for the city of Scranton and, of course, for the nation. We're going to be hearing from our president tonight in terms of the economic turmoil it's facing the country, and, of course, no city is immune. Some people say, well, Scranton maybe is closer to immune than others because the highs have never been that high and the lows don't get that low. But it's also a year in which our city will be electing a new mayor and, or the same mayor. We have a mayor election coming up, right, Chris? And I don't know if there's been an official announcement, but we think we have an idea of who might be running in that campaign. So it's a particularly auspicious time for us to hear about the state of the city. And of course, as we drive around Scranton, and despite the challenges, many good things have happened, and I'm sure the mayor is going to report on. But we see downtown development still making great strides with the cooperation of the Chamber of Commerce, which has made a fundamental and influential contribution to development in the area, particularly the new business park within inside the city limits, where it's very hard to find land to develop a project of that kind, and takes the cooperation of quite a few people. The greeting to the mayor of the city of Scranton, Chris Daugherty.
Good afternoon, everyone. Austin, thank you very much. Leslie, thank you for always acting as our host. I address you today for the 7th time. And I think back to 7 years ago when I talked to you about our hopes and dreams of where we were going and how we were going to get there. 7 years ago, we were at the University of Scranton on the 5th floor of Brennan Hall, and we looked at the challenges that the city faced at that time. We were a city that was under sanctions from the state government. We could not receive money for paving and for bridges and for all grants. And we were a city that was in need of a lot of help. I stood before you and I said I was going to focus on 3 things: our city's economy, our downtown, and our park system. How are we doing and where are we going from here? Well, how are we doing? If you look at our downtown, I talked about 7 years ago that I was going to connect the dots on Lackawanna Avenue. I was going to take from the Radisson Hotel down to the Lackawanna Avenue Bridge, and we were going to connect the dots. And we were going to start with the Hilton Hotel. The Hilton Hotel had stopped construction at that time. There was no work going on. We were able to put that deal together and get it done. Across the street was a vacant lot, which now stands the Casey Garage, and houses Molly Brannigan's and NovaCare. Down the street was the Woolworths store, which was empty for over 15 years. Today, Santa Fe Pasteur is located there, along with Morgan Stanley. Next door to that is the Southern Union Building, which was empty at the time. In fact, it had just left when WDAU had closed its offices. If you moved down the street, the movie theaters had closed. We reopened them and reinvested in them. The Chamber of Commerce, if you go down one more block, was the first entity to invest in our downtown with the Incubator Building, a $6 million building that's now filled, that allows entrepreneurs for the opportunity to become successful. A lot of those entrepreneurs have moved from the Incubator Building into office space in our downtown. And lastly, if you go down to the end of that street, the Lackawanna Avenue Bridge, which is now seeing $5 million in complete replacements. We set out a plan. We followed it, and we are achieving it. Next door to Lackawanna Avenue, you'll see the Intermodal Center starting later this year. On the other side of that is the old Delaware, New Jersey train station, which will see renovations this year. And that had received a $2 million grant from Governor Rendell. The reason why I wanted to connect the dots is because I wanted to create a strong barrier and a strong line on Lackawanna Avenue. I wanted to build off of it. And we've done that. On Adams Avenue, if you go down from the Hilton Hotel, you have the Medallion Garage, which is all filled with streetscape businesses, whether it's a hair salon or a nightclub. You go down Washington Avenue, and you look at the new parking garage we're putting up next door to the Connell Building, which is a $26 million project, which we are starting internal demolition. We started 3 weeks ago, which will be retail on the first floor, commercial on the second and the third, and housing from the 4th to the 8th floor. We are committed to our downtown. I said I wanted to commit to the downtown because your communities are defined by your downtown. Are they active? Are they vibrant? Are there people on the street? Are there people out at nighttime? Look at the amount of restaurants that have started in our downtown, that have created a nightlife to make Scranton a 24-hour city. Now this year, we have started the biggest project really in the history of the city of Scranton, the new Commonwealth Medical School. On April 1st, we will put a shovel in the ground if all things go as planned. The medical school the city has already issued permits to the medical school to pour that foundation. That school, just at its base level, will employ nearly 800 people. And when the first class graduates, you'll see almost 600 students in the school receiving an MD degree or a master's degree. Now, how does that change your community? Well, first of all, it changes your community because the amount of investment it takes to build that school. It changes your community, the amount of people that work at that school. PhDs, MD, or people just working in the cafeteria, trying to make a living, but making a difference in our community. Where else do we see that investment paying off? The Connell Building. Students have to live somewhere. Employees have to live somewhere. There are no dorms with the medical school. That's why the 89 apartments that we're constructing in the Connell Building will fill that need. This project is going to contribute to our city for decades. It is going to improve our quality of health care. It is going to improve our ability to recruit businesses and local businesses and people who want to be part of our community because of the quality of health care. But also, it is going to improve our city because students have to live somewhere, employees have to live somewhere, and as the PhDs who are at the medical school look to get patents on research and development, they have to set up businesses. If you want to know how this is going to work, spend some time in the city of Pittsburgh and see how the University of Pittsburgh's medical school has affected that city. Now, how did we get here? It doesn't happen overnight. It happens by making tough choices and being patient. I can stand here today and say we're very proud of the accomplishments of our recovery plan. And we knew how difficult that was going to be. And you look at a referendum and getting that passed, going through the court system, and in the last 2 months, being confirmed at the Commonwealth Court level for agreeing with the city's recovery plan, both decisions for our police and fire contracts were 7-0. That means 7 Commonwealth judges, Democrats and Republicans from around the state, agreed with the platform that we put forward, for the plan that we put forward for our city. Those decisions aren't easy to make. And the time you spend preparing to be successful in court is time that it takes from you from doing other things. They're not easy things to do, but we felt it was the right thing to do. I felt it was the right thing to do because we had only one chance to be successful, and we followed through on it, and we've become successful. And when people look at our city, not only do they see a city that's growing, that economic development is taking place, but they know there's an administration in place, that there's leadership in place. When we say we're going to do something, we get it done. Whether it's finishing the Hilton Hotel, whether it's building the Southern Union Building, whether it's building the Lackawanna Avenue Bridge, or putting a plan together for how this city is going to be in the next decade, the decades after that, long after we're gone. Have we done our job? Have we laid a foundation for the future of our city? Because decisions we make today affect Scranton 20 years from now, 30 years from now. I often deal with problems that face me on a daily basis from decisions that were made years ago. We always have to be mindful not only of today, but we have to be mindful of tomorrow. Stewardship is about making sure you're taking care of things down the line and making sure that you have a plan in place. We've demonstrated that. 7 years ago, I said I was going to focus on our park system. And a lot of people couldn't understand why. Well, the reason is very simple. First of all, cities deserve places where families and our residents can recreate at. They deserve nice places. When visitors come to our city, the first thing they're going to look at is, are your parks nice? Are you willing to invest in yourself? You know, a lot of cities, when times get tough, they cut back on their park system. We chose differently. We chose to invest. And by doing that, not only did we provide amenities for our citizens so they can enjoy it, but selfishly, we improved the tax base of the homes that surround those parks. We have 22 parks in this city, and they're all in neighborhoods. And by investing in those parks, we improve the houses and the values of those homes. Because now those homes, there is value to them, because people say, you know what, I want to live near that park because my children can recreate there. I want to live near that park because I want to exercise there. I want to live near that park because it's a nice park and it adds value to my home. We made a statement that we felt it was important to invest in ourselves. You know, today in our country, you know, our federal government is now spending money in cities and in themselves in this country. We were doing that before because we believed it was important. It's easy to say no. It's easy to say you don't have the resources. It's easy to say we can't do it. It is very difficult to say you can do it. Because when you say you can do it, you're staking claim to what you think you can do. You're staking claim that this plan you have will work, and that you have the determination, the fortitude to follow through on it. And when you do those things, you define yourself. We define ourselves as a community. Scranton is a very different city today than it was 7 years ago. As I said, we were under sanctions from the state government. Today, we're a city that's viewed completely different by national publications. Business Week magazine named Scranton the second best place to live in Pennsylvania. Money magazine last year rated Scranton the 7th best real estate market in the country. They didn't just pick us out of thin air. They looked at statistics. They looked at quality of life. And they looked at a willingness of a community, not just a leadership, but of a community willing to invest in itself, willing to take itself seriously, and willing to invest in the future. We should all stand extremely proud today of the accomplishments that we have done together, because it doesn't happen by yourself and it doesn't happen in a vacuum. It happens with cooperation. When I stood before you 7 years ago, the first entity that invested in our city was the Chamber of Commerce. Austin Burke decided that they were going to build an incubator on Lackawanna Avenue. And I don't know if you can remember what Lackawanna Avenue lived or looked like at that time, but it has nothing resembling today. And that street and that corner of Lackawanna Avenue was an area that only a non-for-profit, an entity committed to the future of its area, would take their dollars, their grant dollars, and invest in our city. They could have chosen to invest anywhere. It is the greater Scranton Chamber of Commerce. It's not the Scranton Chamber of Commerce. And we were thankful for that, because that investment gave us the catalyst. I took that one announcement, and in the first 2 years, that's all I talked about. I said, the Chamber of Commerce is investing in us, we're going to do this, this, and this. And now you look at our whole downtown. We've also done infill investing. Look at Center Street. Center Street, before we got into office, was this block that no one ever paid attention to. It was really where Casey Laundry was. When Ken Markey came to Scranton 7 years ago, he wanted to invest in our city. And he took a building that a lot of people walk by every day. Today, it houses apartments and businesses. But we also invested in the street. We took a grant that we received from the federal government and did over the streetscaping, put new lighting in, and made it a thoroughfare, connecting Santa Fe Pasteur to the Hilton. That's what investing is. And what it really says about us is that if you look upon the dollars that we have taken in from the state and federal government in grants, It's over $100 million. And governors and senators and congressmen just don't write checks. They write checks to communities that know how to spend it, that communities know how to invest it, because at the end, they're going to be rated on their investment that they made in Scranton. Because if we didn't follow through on it, if we didn't finish the project, they look bad. And so when we go to Harrisburg today, and we go to Washington, they know we're a city that knows how to spend our money, we know how to invest it, and we get the projects done. President Obama last week signed the stimulus bill, and we have been prepared and working on this for the last several months. Last week, we met with PennDOT on our streets and bridge projects. We gave them a list of the streets that we want paved, and the monies that we could use for our bridge projects. Now, the streets projects that you can use the federal government money for are only for federal roads inside your city. We have a lot of them. They're called K-routes. And we will expect to get over $1.2 million that we will be using for paving in our city. We'll also use almost $500,000 for repairment of bridges. Other parts of the stimulus package that we'll see in our city is for housing. Our housing authority has already been prepared to receive an additional $2 million that will be used in capital projects, primarily Washington Plaza. We will start the renovation of Washington Plaza this year. But we were prepared. We knew what we had to do. President Obama set aside $1 billion for block grants. That will mean $1 million more for Scranton. We are already preparing our list, so when we send out our advertisings in July of this year for 2010, we will be ready to invest our money. When you work hard, when you're prepared, and when you plan, you can take advantage of what comes in front of you. That's the difference in Scranton today than 7 years ago. Not only do we invest in ourselves, not only do we plan for the future, but by working every day, and this is really the administration and all the people who work for the city of Scranton, we are prepared to take advantage of what's coming our way. Because every city could use these dollars, but only some cities get those dollars. And the ones that get them are the ones that could be able to get there first and be prepared. As I said, and we are, and we've been prepared. This city, as I said, has performed very, very well over the past 7 years. But what are we going to do for the future? Well, we've said we're going to invest in a new playground, a reclamation of a playground in Minooka called the Billy Barrett Playground. We're sending out RFPs to spend $100,000 in a playground inside a neighborhood. We have announced last week that we will be renovating Hanlon's Grove, which will be putting 8 new barbecue pits and a waterfall. It's money that we're going to raise, and we're doing it with an entity out of the Chamber of Commerce of young leaders and future leaders of our city of Leadership Lackawanna. When young people decide to get involved in your community, not only do you get their enthusiasm, but you get their buy-in. It's their community, because one day they're going to be the leaders of this community. And when they understand, when they commit to something and they get it done, they want to be part of it for the future. We as a city today have performed so well, and we've done it because everybody has been together on it. But we have a lot more things to do. One of the things I'm going to focus on is a new public library. We announced this several months ago. This year, the city in our budget has already allocated money to buy this Penn Security Bank building on the corner of Cedar Avenue and Alder Street in South Scranton. We are going to keep that building, and then we're going to put a 50,000 square foot addition on it. The Scranton Public Library is in the process now of organizing, so we will hire an architect. This building will cost $16 million. It will be a challenge to us. But just as I told you 7 years ago, that I was going to connect the dots on Lackawanna Avenue, that I was going to fix Naog Park, that I was going to build a new police headquarters, that I was going to build a new Department of Public Works, I'm going to build a new public library. And the reason is very simple. First of all, we need one. The Albright Library is 115 years old. It's going to stay open. It'll be used as a reserve library and a research library. It's also an economic engine. We are going to invest in our fastest growing neighborhood in the city, South Scranton. We have an obligation to invest in the future. And the immigrant population that's moving into our city needs resources. free resources, whether it's into the internet or to books. We're going to make that happen to them. But also, this library will be an economic engine because we expect 700,000 visits to that library. Well, you know what? Any smart businessman or businesswoman is going to tell you that's not a bad place to be located next. We've already set aside $350,000 on an Elm Street program that we will redesign blocks to that neighborhood. We've already done a study of a 40-block radius in Southside. Projects don't happen overnight. You have to take them in stages. But we are at the stage now that this is where the next big investment in our city is going to take place. You know, 4 years ago, people asked me, what section of the city are you going to invest in? And I said South Scranton. And we built Mayor Connors Park. I took the South Side Post Office, I tore it down, I took a grant from Rick Santorum for $350,000, and we built the first new park in the city. Then I took Connell Park, which was facing a lot of troubles, and we invested almost $300,000, a grant from Fred Bellardi. And we did over the pools, we built a brand new playground, and we built the city's first dog park. That dog park has changed the way that park looks today and how people recreate in it. It has been a tremendous success. We tore down over 30 homes in South Scranton. We have made a commitment to it. And the library is just a continuation of it because we will not only build that new library, but we're going to change Cedar Avenue. You've seen where we've gone, you've seen how we've done it, and we're going to continue to do it. There is no end. You don't get to the mountaintop. You just keep pushing the rock up the hill. Every once in a while, the rock rolls over, you got to go back and pick it up and push it up again. And that's life. You know, success isn't measured about how far you go. It's your ability to overcome obstacles and keep pushing ahead. You have to have a commitment, a passion, and a resolve for your community. I have that. I love this job. I work at it 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. You only put that commitment in if you love it, and I do, because I see the results, and I see how we're changing people's lives. All these things come with cooperation and working together. It comes with an outstanding staff who do a tremendous job, a great police and fire and Department of Public Works and clerical department. They all do a great job working together so that we're all able to grow as a city. We are moving forward. We are Pennsylvania's progressive city, and in the future, we will continue to hold that mantle. Because today, Scranton is viewed very differently than it was 7 years ago. Now national magazines recognize us. My commitment to you is to continue on that path and make us even better. Thank you very much.